G'day everyone, here we are, Franco from Fresh Air Carpet Cleaning again, back for another little session after a bit of a protracted break because I've been off doing other things, but we're going to have another little discussion today about water damage and what that means to you and to your carpets and what you really should be doing or maybe not doing. So we'll get into that and have a great session with that. Cool. Here we are again, ready to go and have another little bit of a discussion session with the infamous Mr. Michael Worthington.
How are you, Franco?
Oh, well, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm good. You said water damage, and I'm remembering that picture you put up at the Carpets Association where you were doing your reports from Eagle Bay, but it's not that water damage you're on about.
No, not quite. That was another sort of thing.
Of a carpet cleaner.
Yeah, well, that's not so much a carpet cleaner. That's the inspection side of things that I do as well. So I've been called in to do an inspection on that one, and just happened to be down in Dunsborough and right next to Eagle Bay. So, of course, I had to make a little pit stop, didn't I?
So you had to make the bay your office.
It was my office for the day. Yes, yeah. It's a hard life sometimes.
But talking about all water damage, that was obviously an inspection you were doing. I think you said to me off there that happened to be an installation issue.
That's right. Yeah. So I went to inspect the carpet. There was all sorts of issues happening with it, and they thought it was a carpet fault. But once I got down into it and delved a little bit further, it was the person who had laid it who had probably not done the greatest job, had done the carpet a real disservice as well. So it needed a fair bit of work to rectify.
Interesting. Talking about rectifying, we're talking about water damage.
Yeah.
If someone has got water damage, like they've had a sink overflow, a pipe burst, or those dreaded wash machines that come unhooked, or dishwashers, what's the number one thing they should? I mean, can they just mop it up with towel? I mean, is there an urgency involved in
look,
this?
you can if you want to mop it up with a few towels and try to get a little bit of it. But you know what? The best thing you can do is to call a professional in straight away. And by professional, I don't mean someone who just happens to have a carpet cleaning machine
that they've just hired from Bunnings.
Well, that does happen too.
Yes.
Okay, even in this sort of situation, I know I joke about it a lot with people in a cleaning situation, but I have heard of people doing the same thing. They go out, they call someone in. This guy's turned up with a Bunnings special, sucks a bit of water out, says, "There you go, job done," and off they go. Well, you know what?
It's not.
It's not done. Not by a long shot. Yeah.
Because and you're saying then you need to call someone in, but time's a critical factor here. You
absolutely, yeah. Look, if you don't get onto it straight away, and it does depend on weather situations as well, but the longer it stays wet, the more chance there is of there be issues that will develop further down the line. So the best thing to do is to get into it straight away and absolutely hammer it to get as much moisture out of the whole environment there, because it's not just the carpet.
No.
Okay, we have to look at other things that factor into it. What kind of carpet is it in the first place? What sort of structure is it? What sort of components of fibres there are in it? Because some are slow drying, like wool for instance, and some are faster dry, like polypropylene. They have to be treated accordingly. Then we've got to look at what sort of underlay is there.
I was going to say, because some of the underlays would just fall apart surely when they get wet.
Look, some have the potential, especially when they're aged.
Yes.
They will literally just break up because some of the old foam underlays will just start to disintegrate. And so that needs to be pulled up and rectified as well and replaced. It's not just a case of leaving it situation. And because that foam underlay, it's like a sponge. And what does a sponge do? Absorbs moisture.
Yes.
Okay, and lots of it, and it's really difficult to get it out of there. Okay, if you have the old rubber waffle type, look, they're really easy and quick to dry out. So what's underneath there? How are you going to attack it? And then you have to look at other things. Is how far up the wall has it potentially gone?
I know.
Okay, it's not just the carpet anymore. Have you got furniture in there? Is the furniture being affected by it as well? Okay, if you've got chipboard furniture sitting on a wet carpet, well, guess what? You no longer have that furniture.
No, you don't.
Or at least not in pristine condition anymore. So that needs to be dealt with. Or if you've got built-in furniture, sometimes you've got no option. You can't move the furniture without destroying it.
Now, someone would say, and we talked about, and I did this when I started the show, was talking about the dishwasher and the wash machine. But what about fresh water? You know, a few people now I've seen have got the water cooler.
Yep.
You know, then they get their filtered water. If one of them spills, it's not as bad because it's fresh water.
Oh, look, If it's fresh water, it's not as bad, okay? But then if you've got stuff like something that's come out of your shower, for instance, now, or your washing machine, probably more to the point. So the washing machine, it could be just that you had the water with a lot of detergent load, okay, which is going to create another set of issues. And that's, it's harder to deal with.
At the same time.
Well, it's doing a bit more than wash the carpet because those detergents can actually be quite alkaline and quite strong, and therefore they can have the potential to damage some fibres.
Right.
So there's that issue there. But if you've got something that's come out of a sewer, and you've got some joker that comes along and says, oh yeah, I'll suck that water out and give it a clean up. No. If it comes out of a sewer, even if it's come out of the floor of your floor waste,
yes.
okay, if it comes out of there, that carpet is pull it up, throw it out, and sanitise the building before you put anything back in, fresh stuff back in.
So it's out of the sewer, well, you can't clean it?
No, absolutely not. Because we cannot get it to the point where we can guarantee 100% sanitation. Okay,
Wow.
It just doesn't happen. Now, if it was a piece of clothing or something like that, for instance, you could throw it into a wash and really heavily rinse it and get it back to a standard. We can't do that with a piece of carpet.
No.
It's just not possible. It's not feasible. So yeah, you can have all these sorts of weird and wonderful chemicals, and there have been lots of claims made over the years that it can be done. But the thing is, you cannot give it a 100% guarantee. So on the day, it might seem to be reasonable within limitations, but further down the track, you have other things start to develop. So no, it's just a category. It's actually, I think these days, illegal to actually not pull it up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So when you get to that sort of level, you've got serious contamination, and you just do not want to do not play around with it. It's remove it.
It's removed. One of the other things, and talking to yourself as well, one thing I've learned is that you might have a water damage in an area, but the water's never contained just to that area. It's a marvelous
Water's
substance.
a great traveller. Yeah. Look, if we have a contamination or a bit of water that's gone into one room, we don't just look at that one room. We look at everything that's around that one room. And a lot of times people say, oh, look, it's just a little small patch like this and don't need to worry about it too much. And you get your water detector out and you start pinging off everywhere in that room, and you go to the room beside it, and where the wall is there, it starts going off there as well, because it will travel underneath. We've talked about capillary reaction before.
Yes.
It's going to happen there as well, and it will go through and into other areas that you might not possibly be aware of.
Now, one issue that I was talking to a friend of mine, so we've just come out of winter here in Perth now, but during winter your roof leaks or whatever, and all of a sudden you start getting these damp stains on carpets. Finding where this is coming from is a pain.
Yes, well that's why we use all sorts of weird and wonderful instruments to try and gauge as to where it's actually coming from. We use an infrared imager, for instance, to be able to get heat signals. Okay, because wherever there's going to be moisture, there's going to be colder. So you can actually use that camera to look around and say, oh yeah, okay, we've got water there, oh look, it's coming from up there.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah. So, and we also got moisture detectors as well, that there's just basically a couple of pins that will penetrate through to the subsurface and will give you a reading as to whether or not there is moisture in there, and whether it's within certain limitations.
Yes.
So there's those couple of things that we can do to find the source of the moisture, because sometimes you really do end up chasing your tail. I mean, I remember having one that I went to the unit and say, well, we've got water incursion into the unit. It's like, great, okay. Now, couldn't find for love nor money anything wrong with the actual unit itself. But then I noticed that there's a little bit of bubbling up the plaster up the wall, and the moisture detector went, oh, it's the upstairs bathroom. So the actual problem had originated from another place already, a completely different place, that they hadn't realised there was a problem because it was coming down their bathroom wall and not into their living space, so it was invisible to them. But of course it was coming down into that space and going everywhere.
Goodness me. Now, we've talked about different carpets, and this is what I want to ask you about, because there is a video that says, is your carpet made of paper?
Yeah.
You got quite a few views.
Yep.
We're going, what?
That's an interesting one.
That's an interesting one. Are there certain carpets, because of water damage, are there certain carpets then that react better or are better suited to water, and some that are just terrible?
Okay, so if you've got a fully synthetic carpet, you've got no real issues.
Right.
Okay, as long as the underlays are a decent underlay as well, they're really quick and easy to deal with.
Yes.
But if you've got a woven carpet which has natural fibres in there, you've got some major potential issues with that. We've discussed it before.
Yes. The high-end luxury
high-end carpet, yeah, which was a wool and that wonderful rayon viscose blend.
Yes.
Yep, that paper stuff we were just mentioning there. Okay, and that, having got wet, was a huge issue because the type of underlay that one had involved as well, it was what we call a dual bond underlay.
Right.
So a dual bond means it's glued to the floor, and it's a kind of like a spongy medium, if you want to put it that way, for want of a better explanation, and then it's glued to the back of the carpet, so it ain't going nowhere. So how do you pull that up and get that dried out to get that sorted out as well? And we managed to do it, but I tell you what, it was a challenge because that had everything going wrong with it. It was a big open area, so it was really hard to have dehumidifiers going there because for that sort of thing we need a closed environment, but this was a big open, whole floor open area of a rather large house, along with built-in furniture, along with power that was built into right into the carpet zone. Okay. So we had the carpet problem, we had the underlay problem, we had the fibre problem as well, as it being a horrendously expensive carpet that now had browning issues, cellulosic browning issues.
Yes.
Yeah, so there was everything going wrong with that thing there. That was one of the most difficult jobs I've ever had to deal with. Took a long time to get it over the line, but we managed to restore it to a point where the owners were happy, which everyone was breathing a huge sigh of relief for. But it took a lot of work, and it took the understanding of how it all works together to be able to get it to a point. Because that one there, actually it wasn't just even the carpet that was a problem, because it came from an upstairs garden.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, which hadn't been sealed properly through a heavy rain, and it had a waterfall coming down the wall, so the walls were all wet as well as the furniture, the built-in furniture.
Goodness me.
So yeah, as I said, it's a challenge.
When you talk of this, like the different carpets, the different underlays, and you talk about the furniture and the fittings, do people, well, I'm going to presume it, and do they need to have been properly trained in this? Are there specialists in this?
Oh, absolutely. If you haven't had training in it, you're not going to be doing the best possible job, let's put it that way, and that's when you start getting problems start to develop. If the carpet's not dried out fast enough, you'll get a lot of black mould that will develop under there. So the Aspergillus niger, which a lot of people have a lot of allergies to, it's one of the things they're saying that's the future asbestos as far as litigation goes, because if that starts developing in the back of the carpet, if you have someone that's asthmatic or has any respiratory issues, they can have a really adverse effect to mould and mould spores.
Yes.
So if we have someone, for instance, that comes along and they've done the job, and they think that they've done a great job, or actually the instance I was thinking more was the carpet's been wet for a while, that started to develop, and we got that black mould underneath, and they go, okay, well, we just come in and we'll suck a bit of water out and we'll stick our dryer in there, and so it's just an air mover, and they do what's called floating the carpet. Okay, so we're introducing air underneath, and then what happens? All those spores, you've contaminated the whole house. Okay. And then, as I said, if you've got someone with any issues or someone with unknown issues that can trigger a reaction, that's been done incorrectly, and you're liable as a contractor for that person's well-being. That's a duty of care that you do have. So we need to know what we're doing before we go into any property and look at all the parameters before we make any choices about how we're going to approach the job.
So we're in Perth, Western Australia, and say someone's got a flood, it might look minor, but as we know, hidden is like an iceberg.
Exactly, that's a good way to describe it.
How do they make sure that the person turning up isn't just saying, yes, I'm trained? Because this does happen in different industries.
Oh, look, absolutely. If they've done training, they'll have a certification for it, okay, and they'll be able to show it to you.
Right.
So if they don't have the ability to say, yes, we know exactly what we are doing, and give them a rundown of how they are going to do it, rather than, I'm just going to suck a bit of water out, love, that'd be all right. There's going to be a huge difference. If someone can give you a technical explanation and show you that certification that they have done, then you should be pretty well safe.
Now, you have got the Carpet Cleaning Association.
Correct.
In Western Australia here, and you can actually go on there as a consumer and see a list of what people actually trained and specialised in.
That's right, yeah. So we've actually done a little bit of a good little trick with the Carpet Cleaning Association website as well, where if you look at the bottom of the page, there's all the different sorts of specialities that the guys might have.
Yes.
And if you actually go and hover over those little items, so one might say water damage, one might say stain removal, and one might say spot dyeing. You hover over it, you'll see it highlighted, you click on it, and it will actually bring up a page with all the members that do that particular specialty.
Ooh.
So it makes it easier for you. And then you can pick and choose who you want. Me, of course. But no, you can pick and choose because obviously we're covering the whole metro area.
Yes, which I think is great.
Yeah, and to some degree also out in the regional areas as well. So you can find someone who's going to be able to do the job for you.
The one thing I like about that is that people can check as well if, say, I turned up and said, oh yes, of course I'm a member. Of course I've got that.
And we've got a few of those
I've
going
heard it
on.
happening in other industries. I was unsure about yours, but I can imagine a few have gone, I need the job, yes I am. This is really easy. Click, hover, your name's not on the list.
That's right, yep. Yeah, so look, if they are a member, or even if they're a probationary member, they won't come up in that list, but in the probationary member listing, their name will be there, will appear there.
Right.
Okay, once they become a full member, they get their own page, and they can list out all the bits and pieces they do. But at least that way you've got that guarantee. If they're not mentioned anywhere on the site, they're not a member, because that is updated regularly to reflect who actually is and who isn't.
So someone with water damage, whether it's, we've heard the sewage one, it's get it out, but someone with water damage now, what are your top 3 tips you would give them, or top 3 strategies that they can do immediately to minimise this effect?
To minimise, okay, if depends on where the water's coming from. You've really got to find out the source. Identify the source, number 1. Okay, if there is a freshwater leak that's you've got a tap or something that's burst, and I mean those flexible lines are infamous for it. They fail on a regular basis. So get the problem sorted out, because the amount of times we've also been called in and there's still a leak. We can do as much drying as you like. It's going to keep getting wet. So make sure that the source of many a time, believe me, many a time. Make sure that you identify the source and fix that issue to start with. Okay. Then we've got to have a look at what type of carpet there is, what sort of situation you are. Are you in a high-rise unit? Okay. Are you in a normal house? Do you know what kind of carpet and underlay there might be? Those sorts of things need to be identified as well to be able to try and get across the line. Don't just try and handle it yourself. Make sure that you get it done as quickly as possible. Yesterday's better, okay, in this sort of situation. It's the speed of getting to it that's going to determine whether or not you'll be able to salvage that carpet. Okay, if you go beyond 72 hours, that's where you really start running the problem zone. The carpet starts getting a bit whiffy. If you've got that whiffiness happening, you've got a major problem on your hands, okay? And that's, as I said, normally at the 72-hour mark, that's where things start going really wrong. 48 hours to 72 hours, depending on conditions. When people think that when we come into summer that it's nice and hot, it's going to dry off on its own.
Open some windows.
That does help. It's not. I'm not going to say don't do it, but that certainly does help. But it's not going to be the be all and end all. So a couple of towels, stepping on them and opening the windows, is not a bad way to go. But it's not going to be the only thing you need to do. It needs to get attended ASAP.
Wow. So
you also need to
just
as a major tip, and make sure you call your insurance first. Okay. Need to find out whether you're covered or not, because you'd be surprised at how many people don't get covered or don't even have insurance in the first place, and then it becomes a bit of a battle about how you're going to progress with it. It's never going to be a $200 claim for a water incursion ever. Even on most simplest ones, they generally tend to work around about $700 upwards, and that's just for a small patch. If you've got a whole house full, you know what, you're going to be up for a big bill, so your insurance needs to be able to be notified. Sometimes they will say that they have to use their preferred contractor, or they will tell you, no, you can find your own, and that's fine, but you need that authorisation. Otherwise, if you go and find whoever you like, try to put the claim in, and your insurance policy says no, then you've got a leg to stand on.
You didn't give us the opportunity to find our own.
So you've got to be careful with that. So identify, isolate, start getting things rolling by just doing that ventilation. Get onto your insurance company ASAP. Most of them have got 24/7 operators, so you can get onto them pretty quickly and get things happening really fast. But speed is of the essence.
And if the insurance company says, yep, just get someone out there now and they want to call yourself, Franco, what's the best way of contacting Fresh Aire with an E carpet cleaning?
That's the one. Okay, so we can do just a general email, which is info@facc.com.au, or you can give us a call, 0418 914 097. find our website. There's an inquiry form on that as well that you can go to. So that's www.facc.com.au. And a good old Facebook. Facebook, we've also got our own Fresh Air Carpet Cleaning Facebook page on there. And if you get desperate, and that's the easiest way for you to do it, we'll take any way at all. We're quite happy whichever way you go.